Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
We left Paul and Silas in a really uncomfortable place yesterday in Acts 16. Certainly a big change from the comfort of Lydia's house. Instead of a soft bed and clean sheets, their feet were in stocks, and they were black and blue, bleeding, languishing in a prison. Well, you'd think that they would be languishing, or at least having a pity party. I know I would be. I do that when the electricity goes off and we don't have any air conditioning. But not Paul and Silas. They didn't let a little thing like being beaten by rods and imprisoned in stocks discourage them. But they couldn't sleep either, so they prayed and sang. Singing praises to God can do wonders for a tense situation, and it can be a testimony to those around you. Notice in verse 25 that all the prisoners were listening. They didn't have anything else to do. Talk about a captive audience. In the middle of the third verse of Amazing Grace, or whatever they were singing, suddenly there was an earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were open and everyone's chains were loosed. Woohoo! Thank you, Lord, we're out of here. But no, they all stayed put, because God had other things in mind. The jailer saw the doors open, and assuming that all the prisoners had escaped, he drew his sword to kill himself. A Roman soldier who let a prisoner escape paid for it with his life. But Paul stopped him. He must have heard Paul and Silas preach before, because the first thing he said to them was, "What must I do to be saved?" The whole earthquake and chains coming off were for his benefit. He was ready. What has God had to orchestrate for you to come to Him? How might He be working through your circumstances to save someone else? Now that puts things in a different perspective, doesn't it? For Paul and Silas, the arrest, false charges, beating, and imprisonment were all worth it just to see this man and his family come to Christ. So what did he need to do? Believe. Not the, "Oh, sure, I believe that's true" kind of belief, but the lifelong faith to put everything in the Lord's hands kind of belief. The jailer and his household believed. I'd venture to say some of the other prisoners did too. The jailer tended to Paul and Silas's wounds, and then he was baptized. Have you ever had the opportunity to lead someone to Christ? How did you feel afterwards? Euphoric? And to see that person rejoice in their newfound freedom, like the jailer did here, gives you such a blessing. The next morning, the city rulers said to let Paul and Silas go. You'd think they'd be happy with that and go on their merry way, but no. Paul disclosed that they were Roman citizens, and to punish a Roman citizen without a trial was a serious crime. The magistrates could lose their cushy jobs. But why didn't Paul pull that citizen card before they were beaten? Well, God had something else in mind, as we just saw. But why would He do it now? In informing the authorities that they were Roman citizens, they could leave town with respect, not with their tail between their legs. Lydia and the other Christians wouldn't have to be ashamed of having jailbirds for house guests. Their departure would be encouraging to the church, and they would be welcomed back in the future. Besides, the gospel would have a good reputation after they left. God knew what He was doing when He had them use this Roman citizen card. Don't you love how God works things out for His glory? How's He doing that in your life today?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes at our website, which you can find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.